It was really in alignment for a while until it wasn't. Burnout is an epidemic, especially amongst women. Like when I came out with my burnout story in the last year and a half, like every single woman I talk to has experienced it or is experiencing it. I learned on the job how to become a CEO and a leader of people. I wrote a beautiful first book that a lot of people have read, but after a certain point, it just didn't feel like me anymore, but I didn't really have the language or the consciousness to truly articulate that. I'm not myself. I'm not in alignment with my highest frequency, which is joy.
This year, why not ask yourself the question, what are you looking to create this year that utilizes all of your magic, your energy? Now, my guest today is just that, Jessica Zweig. In this episode, we are going to talk about how and when and what turn that into your life.
It's working, you're winning, keep going. And I hit in 22, like burnout, diagnosed physical, mental, emotional depletion and situational depression. And that really was the darkest of my dark.
What were those signals? What are the next steps then at this point?
Oh my God.
Hey loves, do me a quick favor and hit the subscribe or follow button wherever you are tuning into this. It helps grow the show more than you know. Thank you so much again and enjoy. I just want to start because obviously we've had many, many seasons, many, many moons of our days of kind of navigating different fires that we were kind of in, different worlds. We started our season in Chicago. And for you to write a book about light, for you to kind of have one of the most premier branding agencies, and then I read one day that you were shutting it all down or selling it. I want to start there because for somebody to walk their light, there had to have been some dark moments to go through.
I think that the only place we really find our light, our brightest light, is in the dark. And I have been, on the spiritual journey for a long time. I have always been connected, a seeker, using spirituality as my biggest vehicle for personal growth. But I became an entrepreneur and a founder of a marketing agency about 8 years ago. Much to my surprise, I, right after we met, I had just failed my first business and walked away from a pretty unfortunate, bad business divorce and decided I would go off on my own and start a little one-woman consultancy called Simply Be Agency. And it was, right time, right place. I feel like I kind of hit lightning in a bottle in a way. And I went down the lane of personal branding, which was pretty much a novelty at that point. Not a lot of people were doing it, let alone serving it up as a service. And my agency took off. Like my little one-woman consultancy became a 30-person team in less than 5 years and wrote up my first book, B, and blew up my business with that book and, started winning the awards and ranking at the top of the charts with my podcast and just traveling all over the world speaking. And it was really in alignment for a while until it wasn't. I really love that version of me. I look back on that whole thing that I created. I never would have believed at the very day zero that I would have accomplished what I ended up doing with that business. I learned on the job how to become a CEO and a leader of people. We served over 1,000 clients. We changed lives. I wrote a beautiful first book that a lot of people have read. But after a certain point, it just didn't feel like me anymore. But I didn't really have the language or the consciousness to truly articulate that because I was so enmeshed in that identity of that like bright yellow boss babe, power suit, bright yellow hair, fake eyelashes, like fake tan. Like I was, fully invested in that identity. And I love that girl and I honor her. She's one of my angels, but
I loved her fashion sense too.
Thank you. I do too. I still do. She knew what she was wearing. She knew what she was doing every morning when she walked in her closet. And it was the year 2022, which was about 5.5 years in. And we were talking earlier about those like mountains, right? And those accolades the world validates and affirms for us. Like keep striving up that mountain, keep going. Look at what you're doing. It's working. You're winning. Keep going. And I hit in 22, like burnout, like not the burnout that you see, maybe people talking about on TikTok, but like diagnosed physical, mental, emotional depletion and situational depression. And that really was the darkest of my dark professionally, but personally, because I had been really running, even though my business had done a lot of money and I was really never fully in abundance. I was always running away from scarcity because I'd actually gone like financially broke in my first business. Mm-hmm. And then you look even deeper and it's like all the trauma from my childhood of like wanting to make my dad proud of me. And then I just hustled my way through life up until 40 and found myself amidst all of this success in a state where I wanted to burn it all down. I didn't. I ended up, selling it a year later, but that true rock bottom, I had no choice but to look at my own darkness. And that was really the pivot point. That and a very significant trip I took to Egypt. That truly blew my life open. That's where I died. That's where that's the shapeshift. That was the beginning of the beginning that has really led me, here, stepping out of the spiritual closet, talking about what I believe is, the truth of our human experience and why we've come here, which is not what we think it is. And yeah.
I want to get to the Egypt story because I think it's so profound and so juicy. And, just honoring what most people in your situation, they're feeling the tingles, they're feeling the sensations of what it could be burnout. But because we're taught, let's brave it out. Let's just keep on going. It is working. You are getting the accolades. You're getting all the validations from everybody under the sun.
Yeah.
And most people would ignore some of those signals. Mm-hmm. Number one, what were those actual signals? Was it emotional? Was it like erratic behavior? Was it physical? And then the second part of that is for somebody maybe kind of in that intersection now, what advice do you have for them?
Burnout is an epidemic, especially amongst women. Like when I came out with my burnout story in the last year and a half, like every single woman I talk to has experienced it or is experiencing it or has experienced it multiple times. So symptoms of burnout come in a multitude of ways, but I mean, physically you're just tired. And I don't know about you, when I'm tired, I'm sad, I'm moody, I'm irritable. I'm not myself. I'm not in alignment with my highest frequency, which is joy. Like joy feels like a luxury when you're burnt out. Mm-hmm. You're not inspired. Your cognitive mind is overloaded. So you don't feel creative. You don't feel innovative. You can't really think beyond like surviving the day. For me, frankly, a lot of my burnout turned to rage. Like the moodiness and irritability turned to like bitchiness. And I just wasn't like a nice person to be around, especially for my husband. But like some of my most closest team members would see me in that state. Ultimately, when you're burning your body at that level, your brain becomes inflamed. I learned through my depression diagnosis that depression is a physical ailment as much as it is an emotional ailment. Your brain literally is inflamed. So you can't think straight. You're not yourself. And it just continues to perpetuate until you draw your boundaries, are willing to disappoint people, give less of a fuck about your reputation, and start holding yourself as the most holy, sacred vessel in your life. And that can be pretty extreme. It can feel extreme when you've really reached burnout. You sometimes have to take extremes to heal. And that's okay. That's okay. Because the world needs you full. Your greatest gift to humanity is not how much content you can crank or how much money you make or how many clients you can serve that year. Your greatest service to the world is you being in your joy, being balanced, vital, healthy, peaceful. And I think rewriting that narrative is a huge piece of advice that I would give.
And do you feel like there is this like Renaissance awakening for a lot of women to
I do.
kind of normalize the fact that they don't have to kind of ignore those symptoms of burnout and it's actually a real thing?
I absolutely do. I mean, like I said, in my micro conversations with friends, as well as like I have a community, I host a certification program called the Feminine Frequency Business School. And I currently have over 50 women in that program, and they all, had to fill out their forms as to why they joined the program and what they're up against. And obviously they want to grow their businesses. Every single one of them reported burnout. There's a statistic, 54% of women are experiencing burnout. And I think that's just the women that are talking about it out loud. And I think there's a movement happening. Like we're recognizing, and this is a bigger conversation, more on the quantum level, that this patriarchal, toxic masculine paradigm system is not meant for us. Like it wasn't written for us. It wasn't written by us. And we are coming home to the feminine within us on a macro collective level, which I think is so beautiful. I think it's such an exciting time to be a woman and to have these open, brave conversations about it, because we shouldn't have to feel like we're alone in it, because we're not. And we have new options, and we have sovereignty, and we have agency, and we have sisterhood, that can really bring us back to our true nature. And that's what I'm committed to, frankly, more than anything.
Yeah. And what I'm also hearing is that giving other people permission to kind of re-heal maybe parts of whatever the system or the patriarchy kind of taught us, that we aren't worthy unless we are producing.
Correct.
Or achieving.
And it looks like this in a straightward upward line at all times. Like if it doesn't look like that, there's something wrong with us.
Right.
Which is the construct.
Yeah. That's the mental mind game that keeps us going.
Yeah.
And so what advice do you then have for anyone that's kind of in their own closet of shame and guilt, and they're maybe fighting within themselves and like trying to push and think, oh my gosh, maybe this will go away. Maybe it's my own feels of whatever physical ailments I'm going through right now.
Yeah. I would tell her or them to become best friends with your body, to build a real relationship with your body first. Because all of those ailments and those symptoms, that's just your body's way of calling out to you for your attention, your sacred attention. I talk about this in my book, The Light Work. I have a whole chapter on body called Your Sacred Vessel, because that's what it is. It's your temple of your soul. It is sacred technology. It is made up of billions of particles of light through our DNA. It performs trillions of functions for you every second of the day without you ever asking it to. And when it talks to us, whether it's tiredness or hunger or moodiness or fatigue or pain, like we ignore it or we suppress it or we consider it a nuisance or annoying, an inconvenience. I got shit to do. My period today, I got 5 meetings. I'm going to power through. It's like, listen to your body, create a right relationship with your body first, because the more you push it, the more it's going to push against you. And that coming home again to the feminine, really rooting into our systems and healing our nervous systems, which is, for all of humanity to really look at, especially right now, is such a foundational step to healing burnout. I was running over my body most of my career on like dopamine hits and caffeine and adrenaline and cortisol. And again, it was a high, but my body for years, especially leading into my burnout, was crying. Yeah. And I wasn't slowing down enough to hear her. And now slowness is my prayer.
Yes. I can only say that. Like, I resonate with that so much, savoring the slow.
Savoring the slow.
So I want to go back to your time in Egypt, because and I know this is kind of like the entryway into The Light Work, your new book that made national bestseller list. So congratulations for that. And so what happened in Egypt?
Girl, what didn't happen in Egypt?
Because I've been to Egypt too, but I went way before it was cool to go to Egypt.
You did a lot of things before it was cool, Neeta. That's what makes you so cool. I went on a spiritual pilgrimage, a 15-day spiritual pilgrimage with 17 people, guided by some serious mystic Egyptian leaders.
See, that's what I wanted to go on.
Yeah, you can go back.
I want to go back.
I'll give you who I went with. I'll
All right,
hook you up.
You'll
They're
connect me with them.
amazing. So it's important to note that I planned this trip to Egypt about 9 months, 10 months out because I was running my business. And when, you take 15 days off of work, it's like a half a month.
It's a whole process.
It's a whole process. So I was in a different state when I booked it than when I actually got on that plane to Cairo. Like I had no idea where I was going to be in my life at that moment, which was that rageful, burnt out, wanting to burn my whole business down, like massive boat that I had built, quote unquote, succeeding and miserable. So I get on this plane and I get to Egypt, and it was, it's not a vacation. It is an aggressive pilgrimage from temple to temple to temple to temple. You're up at 4, 5, 6 in the morning, sometimes 3 in the morning, getting private access because we were with these guides to go into parts of these temples that very few people get to go to, typically at times when no one else was there. So it was private. And the things that happened to you in Egypt, at least this is what happened to me. This is my lived experience. Sound crazy. Like there's no way that happened to you, Jessica. You must have been on psychedelic medicine, or you're making this up, or you're exaggerating. No, these things happened. You have visual, mental, physical activations in these temples because these temples are alive. They're vibrating. Their walls are vibrating with ancient codes. It is an open stargate, that part of the world, to a galactic doorway that has massive information and potency. And each temple was really what I call a recollection of my light codes, a recollection of remembering who I came here to be. The most significant of them all, of the temples that I went to, was Dendera, the temple of Hathor, who is the goddess of bliss. I like to say she's my girl. And in that temple, I had what can only be described as light activation. I was struck by what felt like white lightning. I was in a small alcove by myself, pressed my whole body up against the wall. I was really into like touching these walls. Like I wanted my whole body all the time to be against them. And the second I closed my eyes, I had this diamond white flash of light hit my body, hit my field. My field expanded. It expanded within a matter of seconds into the ether beyond the planet. And then I started hearing voices, and they were speaking to me in such rapid succession. Like I'm pretty clairaudient. I can hear spirit. I talk to spirit often, but I had never in my life up until that point heard spirit speak to me that clearly, that loudly, that specifically. And in many ways, what they said to me in that moment was what inspired my book. I write about exactly what they said to me, and it informed my ego death. If I look back, that is actually when I died, that moment. And I came home from that trip, and my entire life changed. And the memo, like the headline, if you will, that I got from Egypt, not just from Dendera, but from a lot of the goddesses and a lot of the temples, was that this human experience is meant to be fun. Ooh. That this human experience is meant for our enjoyment. That joy is our birthright. And given where I was in my life at that point, Neeta stepping into that country, I had missed the whole fucking memo. Like I missed the plot. Wow. And I remembered in Egypt. That was my ultimate remembrance, that country.
Wow. So you get all of these incredible codes. You have this visceral ego death.
I do.
And not on psychedelics, like the real ego death. Cause I've had one on psychedelics and so for you to be in such a beautiful place that has so much ancient wisdom, it sounds like you come back anew.
I did.
And remembered or
Yes.
remembering.
Yes.
And so was it like a sudden shift to then say, all right, I have clarity. I need to sell this business now. You obviously have this huge agency that, and you know, you're working with all of this newfound info. What are the next steps then at this point?
Yeah. So I'm pretty open about this part. I came home and fought with my husband for like 2 months straight, and we almost called it. That was the hardest part of my integration, was my marriage, because he was like, "Who are you?" And I was like, "I can't ride with you anymore. I'm a different person." And that was really painful. And shout out to Annie Lala, who helped us work our way through this. Annie. She's like, can't live without Annie.
We'll link her episode.
Yeah, she's a goddess.
The real deal.
And, you know, that was instant. You know, that integration was pretty painful, and we alchemized it and we moved through it. When it came to my business and my life and my career, I was really grateful and blessed that I had put some people in place at the leadership level in my agency pretty serendipitously right before Egypt, because I didn't know what was going to happen to me there. That really took over the day-to-day, that really took the reins of my business for me. I was, you know, technically the visionary. I had found an incredible integrator who got me out of the weeds within like 45 days. And I moved down to Nashville out of Chicago, and talk about polarities.
Was during that time.
I was right during that time. And I slowed down. I mean, I really honored slowness. I prioritized joy. I made play a practice. I made boredom a practice. I had the luxury, because I had somebody helping me run my agency, to like close my computer at 3:00 and go for a walk, not work on a Friday, go meet a friend for coffee in the middle. Like, I got my life back, you know, and it wasn't just so much the opportunity of having this woman in my business, but really a sacred commitment to myself. I also work with medicine. I work with MDMA. I have a beautiful healer who has been a real significant activator for me. And she really helped me bring down those codes into my body and into my life, and to really make sense of what had happened to me there and metabolize it. Yep. I got the book deal for the light work right around that time. I channeled this book in 3 months.
Wow.
Yeah,
3 months.
3 months.
Wow.
And a book takes like 9 months, 10, like it's a gestation of a baby.
Totally.
That book channeled through my crown chakra. Like, I didn't hire a ghostwriter. I didn't use ChatGPT. Like, I wrote every word of that book. It just poured out of me. It was such a joy to do. I started hosting retreats for fun, because I was like so sick of living the like 9-to-5 agency life, and my business was running for me. I'm like, I just want to be like in the woods with badass women. So I'm going to host a retreat and call some in, and they sold out. I took on some private coaching clients out of those. The universe started showing me what could be next, even though I was still in that present reality with my agency. And then an acquirer came knocking on my door over the summer. Like, it was really divine timing. And I was ready. You know, the business was ready. It was running without me. I was mentally really ready to let it go. And it kind of unfolded in this really beautiful, divine way that I feel like the goddesses of Egypt sort of had orchestrated and co-created with me to be here today. And it's not, you know, perfect. Like, I'm still doing my own learning and a student to my teachings, but it was a beautiful, beautiful death and rebirth.
And I want to just reflect back, like, for anybody who's watching this on YouTube or just listening to this, when you surrendered, when you actively kind of just like, all right, I'm going to lean back into my remembrance of play and joy and letting go, which for a lot of entrepreneurs and kind of people navigating change, it's so hard to release or let go and kind of figure their way into the new or the next chapter. Yeah. When you did that, it was like the book deal came, the downloads for the book came, you wrote the book in 3 months, you started experimenting in different ways.
Yes.
And so I just want to honor that.
Thank you.
How that shows up when we actually say yes to guides, spirit, our own downloads, and really trusting, like the card that you pulled, trusting your gut, trusting your intuition.
Yes.
And so let's talk about the book, because I mean, the light work, how was this all orchestrated, and who is the book for? Who is the light worker?
The woman listening to this is the light worker. We're all light workers, I believe. The book, the book is really a guide back home to the truth of who you are, which is limitless, which is joy, which is love, which is truth, which is infinite abundance. And to get there takes work to remember and unlock that inside of you, because this human experience is so filled with duality. We come here on assignment to learn through the polarity of love and fear, right? And we all have pain, and we all have trauma, and we all have darkness that we've experienced. I mean, look at you, and we have agency. And the book is called The Light Work. The operative word in the title is work. It really does take a commitment to go into your own shadows, to face those parts of yourself, not go around it, not avoid it, bypass it, but to go through it. And I decided, I think my higher self decided to really share my naked truth in this book. It's a very different book than my first book. I don't think I've ever been more vulnerable in my life. And I'm pretty vulnerable on my podcast and on social media. Like, my agency was all about authenticity. This is a new level of depth that I take my reader through simply as a mirror, because I know that I'm not alone when it comes to body dysmorphia and victimhood and toxic relationships and female friendship wounds and family trauma and money scarcity. I mean, I've been through a lot, and I know every woman has. And so the book is for, I think, the modern day, most likely hyper vigilant, high performing woman who is spiritually ready or spiritually curious. I know I talk a lot about my spiritual beliefs in this book that aren't necessarily going to be for everyone. But I say in the book, in the very beginning, like, I'm not here to convince you to believe in like Pleiadians if that doesn't resonate with you. Not at all. Like, take what you will, take what you want, and leave the rest. And the path of being a light worker today, especially as a woman, I think is the most important role and responsibility we have. This world is hurting, and there's a reason why. I believe the core, it's because we've oppressed and repressed and forgotten at a collective level the feminine. And the masculine is equally divine. We need it within ourselves. We need it within the world. But to really come home to the power of the feminine, we are living on a feminine planet. She is the reason she's called us here to help her restore and heal. And that starts with healing ourselves as women first. And so that is who the book is for, and what why I decided to write a real spiritual book about light, but it's a lot more than that.
I mean, I think it's for anybody that is kind of going through the depths.
Yes.
And you are such a embodiment of this person that we all strive to be, but then knowing that, all right, they reach the top and they're like, okay, what is there more?
Yeah.
And I feel like this book is just that next chapter and that next iteration for anybody that's like, all right, checked all the boxes,
yes,
got all of the accolades, but is like, is there more? There is, and you're showing them what the true light work is. We just have to pay attention.
Thank you. Yeah, we have to pay attention. We have to listen. We have to be willing to not always like what we hear and listen anyway, answer the call and to do the work. And this work isn't meant to be done alone. You know, it's one of the things I love about your platform and the way you bring community and women with you. I mean, you're all about community. And I think that there's real power in numbers when we do this work at a collective level. That's like the only way we shift. Like, I really think about the eternal game that we're here to play. Like, we are here for a microcosm of time against like an infinite timeline. And our role right now matters. Like, we're at an inflection point. How we show up, what we dedicate our lives to, what if we choose to heal, will impact generations and generations and generations beyond us. Like, we're that important. I say this book, while it's about me, like it's my story, it's not at all about me. Like, I was just the vessel, the mirror. And I really hope women remember.
Whew, I'm going to link the book in the show notes because I think everybody needs to get this. And for a girlfriend, for the girls group, for the moms at the PTA, I think it's such a reclamation and a powerful reclamation of self when we get to do our own work. And I mean, as you so beautifully put it, the light work is the work. It's the work. And so talk to me a little bit about, you know, you speak a lot of feminine frequency.
Yeah.
And you just shared a little bit about it. I want to double click on that.
Yeah.
How can, I know that's a collective community that you have.
Yeah.
And so.
So back to Hathor's temple and the light activation when I got struck by diamond white lightning and I heard all those voices and they said all these things to me. They said many things to me. But one of the most significant things they said was that the feminine frequency is returning. And it is your job, Jessica, to be a leader of that, but not just you, because you're only one woman. And that's what they said. That was the message. And I was like, okay, I wrote it all down on my iPhone. When I walked out of the temple, I was like, I'm not going to forget a single thing I heard. And I had no choice really but to unpack that message, right? For the last 2 years of my life, it sent me on a deep journey to research and understand, because they said the feminine frequency is returning. They didn't say the feminine frequency is being birthed. The feminine frequency has arrived. They said the feminine frequency is returning. And as I journeyed deeper and deeper into that message, I discovered, I can't believe it took me almost 40 years to discover this, that before the patriarchy for 4,000 years, which is really simply when shit just started getting written down, like for hundreds of thousands of years before that, we lived in a matriarchal system where women led, women innovated, women ruled the planet. They were in seats of authority and leadership everywhere across culture and civilization. And here we are in 2024, you know, we've made progress, like shout out to the feminists in the 60s, but like we're still sort of imbalanced. And so for me, the feminine frequency reclamation is women turning on those codes of consciousness within themselves as leaders. And we all lead. And, you know, I have obviously a very big business background. So my feminine frequency business school is something I birthed last year. That is really just, thank you. It's like my jewel, you know, I love my community so much. Teaching women business, how to build brand, how to scale, how to build a team, how to market, how to create strategy for revenue and potentially scale and sell their businesses if they want to, but to do it in the feminine frequency, to deepen into goddess wisdom. There's Isis and Hathor and Sekhmet throughout the whole program as pillars. Every week we work with their medicine. We explore the chakras so that we can get into our bodies again, listen to them, heal our burnout, heal our nervous systems, so that we're building businesses from the place of the feminine frequency. And I just think the whole world will shift if we do this work. And that's what my community is about.
Oh, wow. And where can we learn more about this program?
You can go to my website, jessicazweig.com, and there's a tab called School. Perfect. And it's right there. I think it's jessicazweig.com/FFBS is the URL.
And we'll put it all in the show notes. I think that everything, I just want to honor you because everything that you just shared is a whole kind of full circle of your next expansion. So it's
you.
no surprise that you're kind of moving into this new evolution of you, because it's all of your gifts. And I mean, Egypt is such a beautiful and such a deepening of just
it really is.
Our consciousness space. If anybody can get back there, I want to get back there now.
There's no place like it.
It's so beautiful. I know our time is really up, but as we kind of get into our spill the chai section,
I love it.
All right. So you can answer this as short as you want, as long as you want. What's one mantra or affirmation to come back to when life gets hectic?
I often say, I allow, I receive, thank you, more please.
Morning or evening, or sunrise or sunset?
Morning.
Your spirit animal?
A horse.
If you can have chai with any inspiring woman, past, present, in history, who would it be?
Gosh, I've gotten this question, but I love this question. I'm just going to go with who's the first person that comes to me. It's going to be so fucking random. Gwen Stefani.
Oh, I love her.
I love her. Like, I want to be her best friend.
Aww.
But she's like a pioneer and came up in like her power as a feminine voice, leading an all boy band. She's got the sickest style. She's lived many lifetimes. She strikes me as a girl's girl.
But can hold both.
Can hold both.
She's
a badass.
Oh, I love that. Okay. Favorite way to recharge after a long day?
Oh my God. Turn off my phone. Like, just turn it off. I have a PEMF mat.
Oh yeah. Is it the higher dose one?
The higher dose one.
Yeah. Shout out.
Yeah. Shout out to higher dose. I love them. And listen to some binaural beats. Sometimes a podcast if I'm feeling like wanting to be stimulated, and snuggling with my dogs.
Oh,
they're my life.
So cute. So adorable. They greeted me. One ritual that sets you up for the day or the month or the week.
I ritualize most mornings. I go to my altar. I have these two powerful crystals. Whether it's 5 minutes or 25 minutes, I'm always there. I pray. I journal. I set intentions. If I don't do that, I don't have the same day. It's a daily devotion.
And one word that describes the season of life.
Unfolding.
Ooh, amazing.
I
Jessica,
love you, Neeta.
What just a magical journey. It's so powerful to witness you in your full essence. So
ditto. Thank you for having me on your podcast. It means everything to me.
Until next time on the Brave Table. Wow. Welcome back. We are on the other side. Okay, go ahead, get the book, The Spiritual. Actually, you can go and get the book at The Light Work. The Light Work is linked below in the show notes, but you can listen to our podcast together at The Spiritual Hustler. I would add it to your weekly dose because she has so much fire when she's sharing and speaking, and it's literally just goodness. You can go ahead to her YouTube channel, which I've also linked below in the show notes. And if you're curious about the Feminine Frequency Program that kickstarts this year, you can go over to jessicazweig.com for all of the details. So what did this leave you with? What are you reminding yourself of in 2025? What is your light power? What is the light work that you are meant to be doing on this planet? Whether in big or in smaller ways, whether in supporting your family members or your friend circle, what is one way that you can ignite and illuminate the path for others this year? Tell us all about it in the comments below. Follow us on Spotify, iTunes, or subscribe to us on YouTube. It means so much. Thank you so much for choosing us to be with us in your weekly growth and dose of bravery. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you next time on the Brave Table.